Welcome to Who's Wrong. If you're into messy stories, blurred morals, and moments that make you stop and ask, wait, who's actually wrong here? You're in the right place. Hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next story. Now let's get into it. Am I the jerk for blinking too long at the kid? Here, what happened? I was just settled into my window seat right on this super long flight. Like I'm talking for 10 hours. I chose this seat specifically. Paid extra for it because I love looking out the window, especially on long hauls. It helps with my anxiety just watching the clouds go by. So I'm chilling, got my headphones on and a book in my lap. I'm just enjoying my space. Then this family boards. Mom, dad, and this little kid, maybe 5 or 6. And they're trying to figure out their seats, and it seems like they're a row behind me. Except the kid keeps peeking over the top of my seat. Like not just a quick glance, but full-on staring. I pretend not to notice at first because, kids, they're curious, but it keeps happening. Every few minutes this little head pops up, eyes wide, just fixed on me. It started to get a little uncomfortable, but I'm thinking, whatever, I'll deal with it. Then he moves. The mom guides him to the aisle seat directly across from my row, which means now he's got a clear shot at me eye level, just staring. He just sits there completely fixated, not smiling, not waving, just watching. It was really unsettling, honestly. I tried to ignore it, turned my head to the window more, but I could still feel his gaze. After about 15 minutes of this unwavering stare, I decided to try and break the tension. I slowly turned my head towards him. I didn't smile, didn't frown. I just looked back at him. And at that moment, I blinked slower than usual. It was just a regular blink, I swear, but maybe my eyes are naturally a bit larger or something. The kid's eyes widened even more, practically popping out of his head. He let out this tiny, high-pitched gasp, and then he buried his face in his mom's side. His mom, who had been completely oblivious up to this point, snaps her head around. She sees her kid clinging to her, trembling slightly, pointing a shaky finger in my direction. She looks at me with this instant glare. It was like I had just personally attacked her child. She leans over, whispering intensely to her kid, "What's wrong, sweetie? What happened?" He whines about something I can't quite make out, probably about my scary eyes or something ridiculous like that. Then she stands up. Like full-on confrontational standing up, and she points a finger at me. "Excuse me," she says, loud enough for a few rows to hear. "Did you just scare my son?" I was genuinely taken aback. I took off my headphones. I just looked at him. He said you looked at him in a scary way. He's terrified. She motions to the kid, who's still hiding behind her. I just blinked, I tried to explain, feeling my face get hot. He was staring at me for a while, so I just looked back. "You purposely scared a child," she practically shouts now. "Other passengers are definitely looking. My anxiety is through the roof." "I didn't purpose anything," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "He's been staring at me since he boarded." "That doesn't give you the right to terrorize him," she retorts. Her husband, who had been quiet, now puts a hand on her arm, looking embarrassed. "Honey, maybe," he starts, but she shrugs him off. "No, this woman just caused my son emotional distress. He's afraid to sit down now." Then she turns to me with this infuriated look. "You need to move. My son wants to sit by the window, and you've clearly traumatized him there." My jaw almost dropped. "Move, this is my seat. I paid for this seat." "Well, you just ruined his flight. He can't get over what you did. It would be much easier if you just switched with him. It's the least you could do after what you just did." She gestures to the empty aisle seat in her row. "You can have this one." I paused, like the audacity. This kid was staring at me, I barely reacted, and now I'm the villain and I have to give up my paid-for seat? Over a blink? "No," I stated firmly. "I'm not moving. I didn't do anything wrong." She glared at me, her eyes practically shooting daggers. "You are being completely unreasonable. My child is scared because of you." The flight attendant, who had been alerted by the commotion, finally came over. She tried to de-escalate, asking what was going on. The mom launched into this dramatic retelling, saying I glared and twisted my face at her son. I just quietly told my side, explaining the staring and how I simply looked back. The flight attendant looked between us, clearly unsure what to do. She suggested, very politely, if I'd be willing to swap seats to help calm the family, emphasizing it was voluntary, and I just shook my head. No. I literally did nothing to this child. I'm staying in my seat. The mom huffed, snatched her kid, and went back to her row, muttering loudly about some people having no decency. The kid was still whimpering a bit, occasionally peeking at me from behind his mom's arm. The rest of the flight was tense. I kept my headphones on, tried to ignore them, occasionally catching glares from the mom. I felt awful, but also completely justified. A blink, seriously. So what do you think? Was I the jerk for not moving, especially when the kid was visibly upset, even if I felt I did nothing wrong? Commenter 1 said, "No way, Op, you did the right thing, you're not wrong here." Commenter 2 said, "Okay, but let's not pretend kids don't get scared. She could have handled it better though." Commenter 3 said, "The wink that twisted everything. What kind of lesson is that kid learning? Was I wrong for leaving my cousin's wedding after being seated at the kids' table? So this just happened, and I'm still fuming. My cousin, Jessica, got married yesterday. Big, fancy wedding. I got the invite, RSVP'd that I'd be there with a +1, but then my boyfriend and I broke up a month before. So I updated my RSVP to just me. This was all through her wedding website, confirmed and everything. I put a lot of effort into this. Found a beautiful dress, drove 3 hours to get there, even got a hotel room for the night because it was too far to drive home after. I was genuinely happy for Jessica. We're not super close, but we're family. I got to the reception and it's gorgeous. Fairy lights, a band, the whole 9 yards. I found the seating chart, which is this elaborate floral display. I scan for my name, and I scan again. It takes me a minute, but I finally spot it, under table 7. I walk over to table 7, expecting to see some distant relatives, maybe some friends of the family I haven't seen in a while. But when I get there, my heart just sinks. It's the kids' table. I'm talking like 4 preteen cousins, all squirming in their seats. There's a coloring book and crayons at each setting. My name card is right next to a little boy who looked no older than 8, furiously drawing a monster. I froze. Like, legitimately frozen in my expensive dress, clutching my tiny purse, staring at a place setting with a juice box next to it. I must have misread it, there's no way. I went back to the seating chart, staring at it like it would magically change. Nope, table 7, my name, right there. I felt this immediate flush of humiliation, like my face just burned. All these adults were mingling, laughing, dressed up, and here I was at the coloring station. I tried to keep it together. I walked back over to the table, just to confirm. One of the kids, a little girl, looked up and asked, "Are you supposed to sit here?" My mom said it's just us kids. That was it. That was the straw. The pure, unadulterated shame. I excused myself, went to the ladies' room. I just stared at myself in the mirror. My perfect dress, my perfect hair, all for this. I opened my phone and texted Jessica. "Hey, just noticed my seat assignment. Is there a mistake? I'm at the kids' table." I waited 5 minutes. No reply. The reception was in full swing. I figured she was busy. I took a deep breath. Okay, maybe it's a joke, a mix-up. But who assigns a grown adult who RSVP'd as an adult to a table with literal children next to coloring books? I walked back out, feeling like everyone was looking at me, judging me. Of course, no one probably was, but that's how it felt. I saw Jessica across the room, laughing with her new husband, looking so beautiful and happy. I didn't want to ruin her night, but I also wouldn't sit there. My mind raced. Should I find my aunt, try to talk to her parents? But what would I even say? "Hi, your daughter thinks I belong with the 8-year-olds. The band started playing a slow song, and couples started drifting onto the dance floor, just a sea of adults. And me, the lone grown-up without a seat, because my seat was specifically with the children. I knew in my gut it wasn't an accident. No one makes that kind of mistake at a meticulously planned wedding. It felt like a deliberate slight. A message, but for what? Did I upset her somehow? We hadn't had any recent arguments. Maybe it was the +1 change, but I updated it on time. I slid out of the reception hall, just quietly, almost sneaking out. I went back to my car, got in and started driving. I called my mom while I was on the highway. I explained everything, tears finally starting to prick my eyes. My mom was furious. That is so rude. You should have said something directly to her. But I just couldn't. I was too mortified. I drove all the way back home, 3 hours in silence. The expensive hotel room went unused. The beautiful dress got wadded up on my chair. This morning, I woke up to a furious text from Jessica. "Where did you go? How could you just leave without saying goodbye? It was my wedding." I texted back, "I left because you seated me at the kids' table." I felt disrespected. She replied, "What's the big deal? It was just a table. It's family. You made a scene by leaving." Now I'm questioning myself. Did I overreact? Should I have just sucked it up, sat with the kids and smiled through it? Or was leaving justified? So what do you think? Was I in the wrong for leaving her wedding after being seated at the kids' table, or was she for putting me there? Commenter 1 said, "RSVP or not, seating her with kids was straight up revenge." Commenter 2 said, don't blow off the RSVP if you want to be treated right." Commenter 3 said, "Feels like there's old drama here we don't know about." Who's wrong? My neighbor keeps putting their trash in my bin, so I locked it. Okay, I need an outside perspective, because my neighbor just went ballistic on me. So I live in a townhouse. We have these big, green bins for trash collection. Each unit has its own. Mine sits right next to the boundary line between our 2 properties. For weeks now, I've noticed my bin getting full way faster than it should. Like I'll take out my normal kitchen trash, and the next day it's suspiciously packed. I started keeping an eye on it, especially on trash day. And sure enough, every single week my neighbor, Mark, comes out with his overflowing bags and just shoves them into my bin. Not even subtle about it. Just opens my lid and throws his stuff in. His own bin, mind you, is often still half empty. Or he just fills mine up first, then puts a couple of bags in his. It's obnoxious. The trash service won't take overflowing bins, and sometimes his stuff makes it hard to close mine completely, meaning I can't put all my trash in. At first, I tried to be nice. I saw him doing it one afternoon, and I said, "Hey, Mark, can you please use your own bin? Mine gets full enough with my own stuff." He just shrugged. "Oh, sorry, just a little extra this week, you know how it is." But it wasn't this week. It was every week. I tried again a few weeks later. "Mark, seriously, please stop using my bin. It's becoming a problem." He got a bit defensive then. "What's the big deal? It's just trash. We're neighbors, can't we help each other out?" Help each other out? By making my bin overflow and potentially get rejected by the city? No thanks. It started escalating. Sometimes I'd wake up on trash day morning, go to put my last bag in, and find my bin completely stuffed with his garbage, so I couldn't fit mine. Then I'd have to wait another week or drive my trash to a public receptacle. It was infuriating. I'd catch him in the act, and he'd just offer a lame excuse or pretend he didn't hear me. He just genuinely seemed to think it was fine. I finally reached my breaking point after I had a big clean-out day and had a bunch of boxes and bags. I went to put them in my bin, and it was already 3/4 full of his stuff. His bin barely touched. I stared at it. I was so mad. I had paid for this trash service, and he was freeloading off of it, causing me headaches. So I went to the hardware store. I bought a heavy-duty padlock and a drill. When I got home, I drilled a hole through the lid of my trash bin and through the body near the handle. It was pretty easy. Then I put the padlock through the holes. Now my trash bin was secure. Only I had the key. Trash day rolled around again. I put my trash in, locked it up, and went to work. I had this little feeling of victory inside. No more Mark and his sneaky trash. When I got home that evening, my bin was still locked. But his bin was overflowing, truly overflowing. Bags were stacked high on the lid, and there was a note taped to my bin. It was from Mark. In angry block letters it said, "What is this? You can't lock your trash bin. I'm calling the HOA." I sighed. I knew he'd be mad, but can't lock my trash bin. It's my property. A few minutes later he came storming over, red-faced. "What is wrong with you?" he demanded, pointing at the lock. "You can't just lock your bin. Where am I supposed to put my trash now?" "In your own bin, Mark," I said, trying to stay calm. "That's why you have one." "It's full," he shouted. "It's always been a normal thing to share bins. Everyone does it." "No, Mark. People don't just dump their trash into other people's bins without asking, especially when it causes problems. You've been doing this for weeks, even after I asked you to stop." "You are being completely unreasonable," he yelled. "This is so petty. I can't believe you would do this." He started threatening to call the HOA, tell them I was obstructing services or something ridiculous. I just stood my ground. I told him he could call whoever he wanted. It's my bin. Now he's stomping around, making passive-aggressive yard noises. I feel a bit like a supervillain with my locked trash bin, but I was at my wit's end. So what do you think? Was I extreme for locking my trash bin to stop my neighbor, or was it the only way to get him to respect my property? Commenter 1 said, "Trash or not, that revenge was nasty." Commenter 2 said, "You didn't escalate, they did." "A lock isn't aggression." Commenter 3 said, "Okay, but locking a shared bin, small neighborhood, big consequences." Am I the jerk for canceling my friend's bridesmaid invite after she brought up my ex at the rehearsal? You guys, I am in a messy situation, and I don't know if I overreacted. My wedding is in 2 weeks. It's been a nightmare to plan, but we're almost there. My bridesmaids are my sister, my best friend, Chloe, and my college friend, Sarah. Sarah and I go way back. We've known each other since freshman year. She was always there for me, especially through my last serious relationship with an absolute jerk, David. David was manipulative and emotionally abusive, and it took me a long time to get over him. Sarah saw it all, helped me through it, or so I thought. My new fiancé, Tom, is the absolute opposite of David. He's kind, respectful, and makes me feel safe. He's everything I ever wanted. My friends and family all love him. So the other night was our wedding rehearsal dinner. It was a relaxed affair, just the wedding party and immediate family. Everyone was laughing, having a good time. We went through the ceremony plans and then sat down for dinner. Sarah was sitting next to me. We were all sharing funny stories about Tom and me, talking about our favorite dates, stuff like that. Then, out of nowhere, Sarah says, and I quote, "Remember that time Tom tried to serenade you my name, just like David used to do?" It was so cringeworthy. The table went silent. You could literally hear a pin drop. My blood ran cold. David, my ex, who everyone knows made my life hell. The man I haven't spoken about in years because it was too painful. And she brought him up, comparing him to Tom, my fiancé, at our rehearsal dinner. Tom, who usually has a joke for everything, just looked completely stunned. His face went from happy to this sort of bewildered, hurt expression. I felt a surge of rage, mixed with utter disbelief. How could she? I forced a laugh, a really fake, tight laugh. "Wow, Sarah, way to kill the mood." She just sort of shrugged. "Oh, come on, it's just a joke. Lighten up." A joke? Comparing my fiancé, who I love more than anything, to my abuser at our wedding rehearsal. In front of both our families. That's not a joke. I couldn't even look at Tom. I could just feel his discomfort. His family was also there, looking confused and a little offended. For the rest of the dinner, an awkward cloud hung over our table. Sarah tried to make light of it, but it just made it worse. She kept saying, "Gosh, you guys are sensitive. It was just a little jab, no big deal." But it was a big deal. For me, it was huge. It brought up all this old trauma, and it felt like she was trying to diminish my current happiness by reminding everyone of my painful past. And comparing Tom to David, it felt like a direct attack on him, on us. After everyone left, Tom pulled me aside. He was really quiet. "Hey," he said, taking my hand. "Are you okay?" That was pretty out of line. "Yeah," I whispered, tears starting to form in my eyes. "I'm fine, but honestly, I can't believe she said that." We talked for a while. Tom said he found it disrespectful and confusing, especially since Sarah knew how much David had hurt me. That night, I didn't sleep at all. I kept replaying her words, her dismissive attitude. "It's just a joke." It wasn't just a joke. It felt malicious, like she was trying to say, "See, Tom isn't so different from David, after all." The next morning, I called Sarah. "Sarah," I started, trying to keep my voice steady. "What you said last night about David and Tom, it was completely inappropriate." "Oh, come on," she said, sounding annoyed. "You're still hung up on that. It was a light-hearted comment. You're being dramatic." Dramatic? I felt my anger bubbling over. "You compared my fiancé to my abusive ex at our wedding rehearsal in front of everyone. How is that light-hearted?" "It was just a laugh. You're making a mountain out of a molehill," she insisted. "I thought we were close enough for a little playful teasing." "Playful teasing doesn't involve bringing up deeply painful trauma and disrespecting my partner," I shot back. "I'm sorry, Sarah, but I don't feel comfortable having you as a bridesmaid anymore." Silence on the other end. Then a gasp. "Wait, what? You're kicking me out of your wedding party?" "For a joke." "It wasn't a joke that night, and it's not a joke now," I said, my voice cracking a little. "I need people around me on my wedding day who support me and Tom, not people who try to undermine our relationship with cruel comparisons." She started pleading, saying she was sorry, that she didn't mean it, that I was being unfair. But her initial reaction, dismissal and calling me dramatic, had already cemented my decision. I hung up, feeling like a weight had been lifted, but also incredibly sad. Now she's texting me non-stop, saying I'm a horrible friend, that I'd rather have a perfect wedding than a real friendship. My sister thinks I did the right thing. Chloe thinks I was a bit harsh given it's so close to the wedding, but she understands why I'm upset. So what do you think? Was I the jerk for kicking my friend out of my bridal party a couple of weeks before the wedding after her joke at the rehearsal dinner? Commenter 1 said, "Nah, that wasn't just a joke. She knew what she was doing." Commenter 2 said, "Okay, but couldn't you have handled it after the wedding?" Commenter 3 said, "That bridesmaid photo post after you dropped her, that's calculating." Who's wrong? My roommate logged into my private journal and told people what I wrote. I don't even know where to start with this, but I'm furious, hurt, and completely lost on what to do. I've lived with my roommate, Emily, for about a year and a half. We were friends before we moved in together, and everything seemed great. We shared secrets, talked about everything. I thought we had a really strong bond. I'm a big journalist. Not an online one, but a physical notebook. It's where I process everything, my feelings, my therapy notes, my insecurities, my dreams, everything. It's deeply personal. I keep it tucked away in my bedside drawer, which I thought was a safe, private spot. Recently, things have been a bit tense between Emily and me. Just small roommate squabbles, dishes, noise, her boyfriend always being over. Nothing major, but it created a bit of distance. Yesterday, I was out running errands. When I came back, Emily was home, sitting on the couch, looking really weird. Almost smug, but also a little guilty. She started asking me these probing questions, like, "So, how do you really feel about your boss? And are you still trying to get back with Mark?" Stuff that I definitely had not discussed with her recently. Stuff that was only in my head or in my journal. A cold dread started to creep over me. I went straight to my room, feeling a pit form in my stomach. I opened my bedside drawer. My journal wasn't quite where I left it. It was slightly ajar, almost as if someone had just quickly shoved it back in. My heart started pounding. No, she wouldn't. I came back out, trying to keep my voice calm. "Emily, did you go into my room while I was out?" She shrugged, casually scrolling on her phone. "Yeah, I needed to borrow your phone charger. Mine disappeared." She didn't even look up. "Did you happen to, open my drawer?" I pushed. She finally looked at me, a flicker of something in her eyes. "Why? Is something missing?" "Did you read my journal?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. I could feel the heat rising in my face. She paused, then let out a nervous laugh. "Oh my God, you're being so dramatic. I just glanced at a page. You left it open." That was a lie. I never leave it open. And glanced at a page did not explain her knowing all these specific, intimate details. "Emily, you know what's in there," I said, my voice shaking now. "That is my most private stuff. How could you?" She rolled her eyes. "Well, you write some pretty interesting things. Some things you should talk about, actually. Maybe I did you a favor." "A favor?" My jaw dropped. "A favor? By invading my privacy and reading my deepest thoughts?" "You're making a big deal out of nothing," she said, her voice getting sharper. "It's not like I told anyone." Except then she slipped. "Okay, so maybe I mentioned a couple of things to Sarah just because she was asking about Mark. And I told Chloe about your work stress because you sounded really down." Sarah and Chloe are our mutual friends. Emily told them my private thoughts, my therapist notes, my insecurities. I felt a dizzying mix of betrayal and sheer panic. My stomach churned. "You told them." "Emily, that wasn't yours to tell. That was in my private journal." "Oh, come on," she snapped, finally ditching the phone. "It's not a secret if you write it down. It's just a journal. It's not like top secret government documents. It's my private thoughts, my privacy. My trust in you," I practically yelled. "How could you break that trust like this?" She just scoffed. "Seriously, you need to calm down. You're overreacting. I just thought it was stuff you wanted people to know, but were too afraid to say." That's when I lost it. "You thought I wanted people to know I'm still struggling with XYZ, or that I have insecurities about Y, Z. Are you kidding me?" She just looked at me with this blank stare, like she truly didn't grasp the gravity of what she'd done. She just kept insisting I was overreacting, and that she didn't mean any harm. I ended up just walking away, back to my room, and locking the door. I feel violated. Like my brain has been picked apart and shown to other people without my consent. I don't feel safe in my own home anymore. Now, she's knocking on my door, saying she wants to talk it out, but I don't even know what to say. How do you talk out such a fundamental breach of trust? So what do you think? Am I overreacting by being this upset, or was Emily completely out of line for reading my journal and then sharing its contents with our friends? Commenter 1 said, "That's not helping, that's intentional sabotage." Commenter 2 said, "TBH, journaling about real people always risks an explosion." Commenter 3 said, "She knew what she was starting." This was never about honesty. Was I wrong for refusing to cover my coworker's shift? Now she's trying to get me fired. Here's the deal. I'm in a really uncomfortable spot at work. I work in a small office. There are 3 of us total in our department, me, Sarah, and Mark. We all handle the same tasks, so sometimes we cover each other's shifts if someone needs time off. It's usually no big deal. Last week, Sarah asked me, really last minute, if I could cover her shift this coming Friday. She said she had a family emergency. I immediately checked my calendar. I had already made plans that Friday evening for a concert I'd bought tickets for months ago. It was a band I really wanted to see. I also didn't really owe Sarah any favors, as I've covered for her plenty in the past, and she hasn't really reciprocated. So I politely told her, I'm really sorry, Sarah, but I can't. I already have plans that night that I can't reschedule. She didn't react great. Her face fell and she sniffed. Oh, come on, it's really important. Can't you just cancel? No, I said a bit more firmly. These are pretty important plans to me. I booked them a while ago. Well, if it's such a family emergency, why don't you try asking Mark? I suggested, trying to be helpful. She just huffed, fine, and walked away looking annoyed. I thought that was the end of it. It's not my responsibility to cover everyone's sudden plans. We're adults. We have lives outside of work. Fast forward to Monday. I come into work, and the atmosphere feels really weird. Sarah isn't talking to me at all. She's giving me the cold shoulder, acting super dramatic. Mark is also acting a bit strange. Then, Tuesday morning, I get called into my boss's office. My heart immediately dropped. My boss, Mr. Henderson, sat there with this stern look on his face. So, I understand there was an incident involving Sarah last week, he started. I was completely confused. An incident? What are you talking about? Sarah came to me this morning, very upset, he continued. She said that last Thursday, you were extremely uncooperative and dismissive when she asked for help with a critical family matter. She felt you were unprofessional and refused to assist, which caused her significant stress. My eyes widened. What? That's not true at all. She asked me to cover her shift, and I told her I couldn't because I had prior plans. I even suggested she ask Mark. She claims you were very rude and told her it wasn't your problem, Mr. Henderson said, looking down at some notes. She also stated you made her feel invalidated about her family emergency. I was dumbfounded. That is a complete lie. I was polite. I simply said I couldn't. I did not say her family emergency wasn't my problem or invalidate anything. I literally only said I was busy. She also alleged that you told her in a condescending tone that she should have planned better and that you don't care about other people's problems, he added, reading from his notes. This was getting ridiculous. Mr. Henderson, with all due respect, I said none of that, I insisted, feeling my blood pressure rise. I have never spoken to Sarah with a condescending tone, nor would I ever say something so cruel. I just told her I had plans. Well, she seems to have taken it very personally, he said, tapping his pen. She's very upset and feels completely unsupported by her team members. She even suggested that her ability to perform her duties is being impacted by your lack of team spirit. He kept emphasizing lack of team spirit. It was clear Sarah had twisted this whole thing into a massive drama, making me out to be the villain who refused to help a colleague in distress. She's trying to get me in trouble because I said no to covering her shift, I finally blurted out, unable to hold back my frustration. This is retaliation. Mr. Henderson just gave me a look. I understand your perspective, but Sarah's account is quite different. I'll need to look into this further. In the meantime, I expect you to maintain a professional demeanor. I left his office, feeling completely blindsided. Sarah is actively trying to get me disciplined or even fired, all because I said no to one shift. I just set a boundary. I didn't insult her, belittle her, or attack her. I simply said I was unavailable. Now I'm terrified I'm going to be unfairly penalized. So what do you think? Was I in the wrong for refusing to cover Sarah's shift, leading to her retaliation, or is she way out of line for trying to get me fired over it? Commenter 1 said, "You did nothing wrong. That's workplace politics 101. Commenter 2 said, "Funny how people act powerful the second you disappoint them." Commenter 3 said, "She waited 3 days and then reported the tone. Suspicious."